Good morning, everyone. So I hope everybody is enjoying their breakfast or enjoyed breakfast. I hope and trust that everybody had a good evening, got some sleep, and are raring to go for another day of research meeting. But before we start off with kind of some research talks, I want to introduce Melissa, who is one of our board members and the person who basically puts on this entire event. She's But Melissa's going to share with us a story about her and her family and her journey through STXBP1. We always like to try to present to our researchers and scientists kind of a reminder of why we're all here, why we're all working on STXBP1, why it's so important, and why you're so important to us. So, Melissa.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying you've all received emails from me. And as Jim was so kind to point out, that I do organize this event with much help. But I think the most important thing to notice in the emails that I send to you is the very last thing. And it says Alex's mom. And so today I'd like to present to you Alex and our family's journey with STXBP1. So this is my son, Alex. He is 20 years old. He lives in California with myself and his dad. By the way, this is in Hawaii. I just want to say I can't believe we made it to Hawaii with Alex, because it is a challenge, but what an amazing accomplishment that was for all of us, really, all of us. So he lives in California with myself and his dad, and he has an older sister who is now married, and you see her husband there, and they moved to Pennsylvania, here, not about 4 hours away. So kind of far away, and we miss them, but love the fact that they were able to join us in Hawaii on this trip. While much of today's presentation will focus on his medical journey, I first want you to know him as a person, because his diagnosis is only one part of who he is. Okay, we can go on to, oh, I'm supposed to push the button. There we go. All right. Meet Alex. Despite everything he has faced, his personality shines through. He absolutely loves music and food, like most 20-year-olds. Being outside, swinging, swimming, or simply taking in a ride in his dad's truck. Those things bring him so much joy. He also loves surprises and excitement, and we've always described him as a thrill seeker. So our journey began, like all children with STXBP1, Alex's story began with unexpected and unanswered questions. It began much earlier than we had expected too. He was born 1 month early, and almost immediately we noticed that things weren't quite right. He experienced shaking episodes, blue spells, developmental delays, weakness, and severe reflux. When he had his first tonic seizure, right around his first birthday, we knew something bigger was happening. He was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and we began trying multiple medications in the ketogenic diet in hopes of controlling his seizures. The years that followed were filled with uncertainty. At age 5, he was diagnosed with autism. By 8, doctors suspected a mitochondrial disorder. That was interesting, by the way. That ultimately led us to our STXBP1 diagnosis. Because of the specialists we saw for the mitochondrial disorder, they suggested doing testing. We watched him go through periods of regression, and he underwent countless tests. Every appointment seemed to bring more questions than answers. We were told to prepare for the worst. We were also told that we may never figure out what was going on. However, despite the fact that living with a diagnosis was incredibly difficult, At the age of 10, he did receive his STXBP1 diagnosis. But our journey didn't end there. He continued to have challenges, and at the age of 16, his seizures got worse. He then received a vagus nerve stimulator. We continued to adjust his medications. We returned to the ketogenic diet again. And like many families living with a rare disease, we've continually had to adapt his treatment plan, always hoping for a better quality of life or to improve his quality of life. Throughout all of this, hope has always been present, though. For many years, we believed he might eventually catch up or even improve significantly. And looking back, there's a part of me that's actually grateful for that period before our diagnosis, because it allowed me to hope without limit. Ooh, that's hard. At the time, we lived with the fear that his condition would be degenerative. We continued advocating because that's what parents do. We learned to celebrate milestones that others might overlook because every achievement represented years of perseverance. When he was 10 years old, we finally received his diagnosis. It didn't change who he was or immediately change his treatment, but it did change everything for us. We finally had an answer. We could stop searching and start learning. Most importantly, we found a community of families who truly understood our journey, and those families, some of them in this room today, set in motion the formation of the STXBP1 Foundation. One of the most encouraging changes since our diagnosis is how much earlier families are receiving answers today. Advances in genetic testing mean that children are often diagnosed in infancy or early childhood, rather than the years that we spent in uncertainty. Instead of spending years searching for a diagnosis, families can begin to understand what they are facing much sooner. They can connect with specialists, find support, access resources, and make informed decisions for their family and for their child. While there is still no cure, as you know, for STXBP1, shortening that diagnostic journey is a meaningful step forward. So I am grateful for the progress that we have made in the area of genetic testing. It gives families knowledge, community, and the opportunity to advocate earlier for the care and services that their child needs. One thing that often surprises people is that caregiving doesn't become easier with age. And when I say age, Alex's age and my age. It has actually become much harder. As he's grown into adulthood, lifting him, transferring him, caring for him requires much more physically of myself and my husband. Simple activities like traveling or even just going out into the community take extensive planning, careful thoughtful planning, and are oftentimes not even possible. His behaviors have become more challenging. His body has developed new medical issues, and safety is something we think about every single moment of the day. These challenges don't affect only him, they affect our entire family. Every decision, every outing, every vacation, every plan has to consider his needs. His siblings of other other patients, parents, and extended family are all experiencing the ripple effects of living with a complex neurological disorder. So, 20 years later, our story is still being written. He continues to bring joy to everyone around him. He reminds us to appreciate the small victories and the moments that truly matter. We remain hopeful because of the incredible progress being made through research and because of the strength of the STXBP1 community. At this point in our journey, we are reminded that time matters. STXBP1 is a lifelong disorder, and as our children become adults, the challenges don't disappear, they often become much more complex. Every year that passes without effective treatments means more families facing increasing medical, physical, and emotional burdens. Our greatest hope is that the research will lead to therapies that don't just manage symptoms, but truly change the course of this disease. We urgently need treatments that improve quality of life, improve function, and ultimately a cure that allows individuals with STXBP1 to reach their fullest potential. Our family has spent 20 years adapting, advocating, and hoping, and we're not going to stop. We know we're not alone, though. Every family in this community is waiting for breakthroughs, for answers, for a future where an STXBP1 diagnosis does not carry so much uncertainty. That's why continued research, collaboration, and investment are so important. Every discovery brings us one step closer to changing the future for our loved ones, and we need you guys to get us there. Thank you.